As Mary Carrillo reports, what Long has done, by force of sheer guts and determination, almost defies belief.
One morning this past July in Lake Placid, New York,
leave it on the course, boys!
Matt Long and 7 of his friends gathered to compete in one of the most punishing events in the world, the Ironman triathlon. If it's not most people's idea of a fun weekend activity, Matt Long isn't like most, to say the least. For a living, the 43-year-old New York City firefighter has run into burning buildings. And now, on his day off, he's planning to swim 2.4 miles, then bike 112, then run a full marathon. A physical trial most people can barely fathom.
And they're like, oh, how many days you get to do that? And like, you know, you have 17 hours to finish it. And they look at you like, what? And you get the same kind of reaction when you tell people, like, yeah, they had a good day at work today. I ran into a burning building. The fire was above the head. And they're like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. It's just that feeling of pushing your body and your mind beyond the limits is just unbelievable what you're capable of doing.
Long was always an athlete, but it took a life-changing event to make him into an Ironman. 9/11, the day he watched the second tower collapse, saw hundreds of his fellow New York firefighters die, and vowed from then on to always be in peak physical condition. Matt's family saw him become obsessed with competing, and watched with amusement as the bachelor social circle became dominated by fanatic triathletes.
I'm like, oh, I'm having a barbecue, I'm coming down, and they would call me like, well, who's coming? And I'm like, what do you mean who's coming? Friends. I'm inviting all my friends. Like, well, are you bringing the cult? Because if the cult's coming, we'll pass.
By the summer of 2005, Matt completed his first Ironman in Lake Placid, and later that fall he finished so strong at the New York City Marathon that he qualified for the elite Boston Marathon, where he thought he could do even better.
And then what happened?
I was run over by a bus.
When you say it like that, it's so surreal. Yeah, I was run over by a bus.
Usually when I say it, people say, no, you were hit by a bus. I said, no. It's a 40,000-pound bus. Took me under its front wheel, and they had to lift the bus to get me out. I was run over, yeah.
What happened to Matt Long took place here, at this intersection in Midtown Manhattan, in the early hours of a frigid winter morning back in 2005. Because of a transit strike, Matt was riding his bike to work along this street when a private bus made an illegal turn directly into him. So rather than bouncing off the side of the bus, Matt Long was pulled underneath it. Rescue workers used high-pressure airbags to first lift the bus so they could then saw him free from his bike. When he arrived at the hospital, trauma surgeons, Drs. Dean Lorich and Somi Ichimpati, assessed the damage.
He was basically impaled by the bicycle seat, so he had a huge hole between his legs, encompassing his rectum and bladder and urethra, all the way through to his intestines.
You know, with that, he basically ripped one side of his pelvis off of his body so that the pelvis and the leg were no longer functionally attached to his skeleton and to his spine.
Matt's left leg was crushed from his hip to his toes, with broken bones ripping through his skin. His right shoulder and pelvis were fractured. To his doctors, Matt's mangled frame was one thing, but the blood pouring out of his body was something else.
How much blood did he lose?
He lost his blood volume, people would estimate 4 to 5 times over. So if we took all the blood out of his body, gave it back, and did this 4 or 5 times, that's about how much blood he lost in about 10, 11 hours.
Matt's parents, Eileen and Mike Long, were at home when they got a call from one of their sons.
Phone rang. It was Jim on the phone. And Jim said that Matt had got hurt and that he had broke his leg.
When the Longs got to the hospital, the doctors told them the whole truth.
They said that it was serious and that he had about 1% chance to survive.
1% chance. That's all they gave him?
That's what they gave him. Yeah.
It took 72 hours for the doctors to stop the bleeding, but an infection could still have easily killed him.
Did his fitness level play a very big role in his survival?
Absolutely.
I think it made him more resilient to the infection that would have killed a lot of other people.
The story of survival became news around New York. The 9/11 veteran who'd beaten death again. But after 5 months and 40 surgeries, Matt looked defeated, leaving the hospital 50 pounds lighter than when he got there, and told it would be 2 years before he knew what his future would hold.
I'm scared. I'm scared. 2 years of of not knowing what I have in front of me. I'm scared, of course.
Though determined to stand for his farewell, Matt didn't know if he'd ever walk again or be rid of his colostomy bag.
And it had to be tough. I mean, here you are in this kind of brassy firefighter jock. I mean, your whole identity changed, right?
It did. It did. And it was really hard to get over it. For a while, I just guess call it pity, but I thought about all the things I wanted to do that would no longer be able to do. And for a while, I just sat there.
How long?
I'd say maybe 6 months. I'd get out once in a while with the guys from the fire department, but if I did go out for beer, I'd be worried about the colostomy. I'd be worried about getting knocked over or being uncomfortable. So I'd rather just say, hey, I'm not feeling it. And I shut everyone out.
Matt says that he fell into a depression, and he told his parents that he'd had enough.
I just said, you know, I'm glad you guys prayed. I'm glad that you guys got what you wanted. You should have prayed the opposite, because no one should suffer the way I'm suffering. And I wish I would have passed away.
I was trying to think of something to say to him, and then I just said, look, you know, you have to knock this crap off. I said, you've done a lot of good things, and you will still do a lot of good things. And if you want to sit in your house and become a bag of crap, then stay there and be a bag of crap. I said, but you're not going to tell us that we shouldn't be happy that you're alive, because we are.
A few days later, Matt changed his tune.
And at one point I clicked and I started changing the word want to will. And I said I will make a comeback to the sport the way I used to be.
The first step was 2 tricky surgeries that reversed the colostomy.
That's it.
Then came a relentless rehab schedule that resembled his old training days and allowed him to ditch his crutches for a cane. And finally, determined to run again, Matt found running specialists who got him back on the road for his first mile.
I didn't fall. We ran the mile in 24 minutes. And then I looked at the 2 therapists and they said, what are you going to do now? I said, I want to run the marathon. Yeah. They went, what? I go, yeah, I want to run the marathon in November. And this was April.
Medically, didn't you think that was a crazy idea?
I thought he would tear himself up. You know, is that, you know, he's going to hurt, but it's, you know, he's going to hurt. There's nothing that he's going to do that's going to be permanent damage.
But the question was, how to run that far with this body? A left leg fused together by a titanium rod, a crooked pelvis that leaves one leg over an inch shorter than the other, and an ankle that won't bend and toes that are locked. Matt sought out an injury expert for the answer and was asked to fill out his medical history. With lifts in his shoes to even out his legs, Matt runs the best he can, but his body has its limitations. Is this the most painful thing you do?
Yeah, running is the hardest for me. And you know, I have to really keep my stride short because I can't stand on my right leg alone. I kind of try to keep my body long and straight. But as I fatigue, the right hip really starts to hurt. And the lower back as I start to teeter, like this.
After 6 months of training, Matt was only able to run 12 miles. A marathon, of course, is 26.
And you considered that you were ready for the marathon?
I needed it. I needed that finish line.
Flanked by 2 close friends, Matt ran his way through New York's 5 boroughs. He stopped along the way to kiss his mother. Then, over 7 hours after he started, and in terrible pain, Matt approached the finish line when he says he became concerned that another runner was about to knock him down.
The finish line was 10 feet away. He was jumping up and down with the crowd. And I was just afraid that he was going to jump back.
You were criticized in blogs of people calling you classless and worse names than that. Do you understand what they were saying? Did it bother you?
No, I understand. Yeah, absolutely. You know, playing Monday morning quarterback, I wish I didn't push the guy. And looking at the video, you know what? I didn't have to push the guy. I could have got by him. But I've been fighting for 2.5 years to get my life back. And I just wanted to cross that line. And I wasn't getting knocked over in the last 7 hours.
And then you did your push-ups. I
figured, let me hit the ground in case the tears start falling. I didn't want to start crying in front of everyone. So I did 10 push-ups, got up, and cried anyway.
All right? Come on. Following the marathon, Matt says his body was a disaster for almost a month.
But it was well worth it. I was ready to set another goal.
What was your next goal?
Well, I said if I could do the marathon, I wanted to do the Ironman.
It's one of the most grueling things anyone can do to their body.
Yeah. I wanted to push myself and get that feeling when you push yourself to the limits.
Matt had 8 months to get ready for the Ironman, to do again what he was able to do before he got hit by a bus. Swimming is difficult now because he can barely lift his right shoulder over his head. But biking presents a whole different challenge. Considering what happened to you on a bike that morning, was it hard the first time you had to get back on?
Yes, it was. I was a little nervous too every time a bus or a truck went by. I was kind of like,
You're over that now?
I'm more concerned about what's around me, I think, in the streets. But yeah, I'm over it.
And so, in July, Matt Long went to Lake Placid. To be an Ironman, you have to complete the course in 17 hours, and every minute counts. Matt finished the swim 12 minutes slower than planned. So he'd have to make up that time later. But it wouldn't come in the bike section. Swirling winds slowed Matt's time even more, leaving him with only the marathon to catch up. So, with less than 8 hours left, Matt took to the road.
As long as I keep moving forward, you should be okay.
But at the halfway point,
I looked down at the clock. I said I have 4 hours to finish 13 miles. I said it's not going to happen. I didn't have another gear in me.
Matt's family knew he was behind.
Every spot that he was coming, I mean, you could see him from a distance, and it was almost like you would pull him, you know. Emotionally, I could feel myself pulling him.
But as day turned to night over the last few miles, Matt did find another gear. And with less than 3 minutes left before the 17-hour cutoff, Matt Long rounded the turn for home.
And I'm saying, come on, hurry up. To myself, come on, you only have a few more inches to go. Get across this line.
I've never seen anything like it. It was amazing. And they were screaming for me. And I think I walked the last 20 feet just because I wanted to soak it all in. It was just amazing. To hear you're an Ironman again was what I wanted to hear.
The marathon was a big plus, but the Ironman made him whole again. He's back, you know, and he really is back.
You brought him back.
I guess, I don't know. I guess so.
Can this possibly be good for the future health of your body after all it's already been through?
Probably not, but it's not easy to say, but you never know when the next bus is going to make a turn. So me doing that Ironman was to let someone else know who may be sick or injured that it's possible.